What is Action? Action stands for the Anishinaabe clans to invoke our nation. So Action intends to work with other Anishinaabe communities to help re-establish their own traditional council fires, clan council fires, to work with us. And so we need to distinguish which route we're going on. In our prophecies, it talks about keep on going in that road of destruction which we're currently on. Indian Act elected councils are on and taking us through by trying to extinguish our title and jurisdiction and giving up our lands through agreements, or come back to a more spiritual clan mothers, our grandmothers, and our roles as who we are as Anishinaabe through our clans.
My great uncle was the co-founder of the Union of Ontario Indians. Wilmer Najuan was his name. And his main thing that was written in the Constitution of Union of Ontario Indians was that we would not accept federal provincial funding. You know, now it's the Anishinaabe Nation, so they're hijacking not only the Union of Ontario Indians, but they're floating around and sending the glossy package of the clans and the traditional culture, which is great. But what's not in here is the corporate law, right? Yeah. So they're not letting us in on that corporate. So there's two birds with, two wings here. They're not sharing that corporate body that's going to be signed off, that's going to incorporate us into the crown, right? And the crown corporation is a business. The bottom line is money.
A group of us from our different communities asked and organized with the Union of Ontario Indians if we can approach the Grand Governing Council, the Grand Council Chief, and the Restoration of Jurisdiction team of the Union of Ontario Indians to raise some concerns. I called them in advance. I said I was going to bring a pipe to smoke and did everything in a proper way. But we had a handful of mostly elders that came along with other community members to raise concerns, and they locked us out. So that shows and demonstrates the rift and division between these Indian Act chiefs and their organizations and us, the grassroots people, and how we need to organize ourselves to reestablish our own clan council fires.
I don't know why they won't let us in. I'm former national leader, and yet they locked me out to stand out here and freeze in the cold. But that's okay. I'm proud to stand with my own people out here who do not agree with the malicious kind of proposal that they have in front of us.
Government agreement they have is it's not a good one for us. It's not a good deal. A lot of the things they promise us in that self-government agreement, we can already do.
The proposed Anishinaabe Nation Governance Agreement is an agreement being voted on by Anishinaabe Nation citizens. First Nation citizens have the opportunity to exercise their right to vote yes or no from February 1st to the 29th and May 1st to the 31st, 2020, respectively.
Get involved in a voting system that's you only need 25% plus one. I mean, even Parliament uses 50% plus one. What an insult to our people. 25% one is just good enough for Indians.
The protesters say they want to put a stop to this self-governing agreement because it's not reflective of meaningful working relationships. They say the denial of a meeting today exemplifies that perfectly.
I personally would never bring anything forward to bring harm to our citizens. I'd just like to make that statement. I don't think any of us would. And I think it's for the betterment. We're hearing different things out there about, we're Indian Act, Indian, but...
And because I would never do anything to jeopardize my Anishinaabe citizens, with my relations, parent rights, treaty rights, anyone's rights.
This is not sovereignty and governing yourselves. This is giving that up. I want to be absolutely clear about that. You are coming under Canada. You're embracing the Indian Act, and you're essentially embracing amendments to the Indian Act. But furthermore, it goes worse because, as I said, you're actually agreeing to be incorporated. How do people do this to their own? I don't get that.
The only way to be self-governing is if you sign a modern comprehensive claims agreement, modern treaty, a self-government agreement, or if there's legislation, enabling legislation. For example, the Anishinaabeg Education Act that they passed last December. Those are the 3 paths to becoming a federally recognized Indigenous government. And according to their proposed legislation that AFN just rejected through a resolution, they said these governments would have the powers of a natural person, meaning like a corporation. So they're recycling a lot of these ideas from the federal bureaucracy.
So basically turning nations into municipalities?
Bands into municipalities.
Right before the vote in my community, when they were asked to vote for this Anishinaabeg Nation Governance Agreement, I approached the chief and council and asked to see our community's constitution. And they never had one. They had an education document, but that was strictly only for education. And we didn't have a proper required one that was required for this vote. So I asked the chief for it, and I strongly suggest that he cancel this because we never had a required constitution.
Section 4.3 and Section 5.3, it says you must have a constitution prior to ratification of this agreement.
Well, I can tell you from what I know, based on the fact that you're in the education agreement under the Anishinaabeg education system, the Kinamadwin education body, mostly as part of that, you have to have a constitution. So you have a constitution. It probably needs to be amended.
But if you have a constitution, why isn't it available to us? Why couldn't chief and council bind the constitution, say we have one, and put it out for ratification vote? So
that was something that was already determined even before we ratified the AES. The Constitution was put together and it was approved by our membership vote. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in the governance process.
Beausoleil First Nation did ratify the education agreement. And by virtue of that, it would have had to have had a constitution in place. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been able to take part in the vote on the education agreement. So it does have a written constitution. And so, there's some, I guess, confusion about, what that constitution looks like.
I wanted to do a follow-up to this Anishinaabeg Nation Governance Agreement because there's a second vote that's being imposed. Chief, I sent the email to his secretary again to see if we can do an interview, a radio interview for an article I was working on as well. So I got an email from his secretary that informed me that the Grand Council Chief has to decline to speak with me as he was instructed by the Beausoleil First Nation, my so-called community's leadership, to not talk to me. So again, this further demonstrates how there's a rift, a division between us common folk, the Anishinaabe, and these Indian Act agents.
Like that, you're gonna have time to talk about that in court, right? And I'm not here,
The court has no jurisdiction under the Queen's Constitutional Order of 1704.
But we don't do that on the street, right? That's something you know what I mean? You're gonna go to, they're gonna take you in, they're gonna process your paperwork and go from there. And you have...
So this is what we're talking about with this governance agreement is lawmaking within our quote-unquote reserves.
Scott worked for the MNRF for 17 years before he became chief. On this morning, I caught them staking out our property. On other occasions, I've caught them on our properties, on our docks. They steal nets, fishing rods, coolers.
So Clayton was just here. I think you just missed him. You know Clayton.
Scott McLeod is now allowed Ministry of Natural Resources on reserve land now.
So our job is to do an inspection to determine
whether
whether
do you think you're going to do an inspection here? I don't fucking think so, buddy.
I'm sorry. Well, hey, that's our job. Sorry, what was your name?
We talked to a lawyer, and he's explained to us that what you are doing are breaking our inherent rights. You're interfering with treaty rights. Everything that our chief and council has told you has been done against what the people have been wishing.
It's all being hoodwinked, lied to. You don't even know it, Ryan.
Yeah. Anyways, our point is that we're still allowed to fish, regardless of whatever measures you put in front of us. We're still allowed to continue our fishing activities in accordance how we see.
I was on October 14, 2016. I'm charged illegally for fishing. I wasn't even on the lake that day. They make up stuff and they take away Indians' rights, and that's what they're doing. No. I'm not with Indians who are willing to sell out their rights. You need to be aware of what they're doing to you. This is all a lie. There's lots of fish in the lake. This is not stealing our protest signs. How fucking pathetic is that? Should be fucking gone. This whole chief and council should be dissolved. They stand beside that? They allow that? No, that's okay. You steal protest signs? No. You have a voice? Your voice will be heard? No. Only their voice will be heard.
We are a sovereign nation of Ojibwe people who live under the Robinson-Huron Treaty. And at the end of the day, we're being told what to do and how to do things, when we can and can't do things, how much we're allowed to make in order to benefit ourselves or our sovereign communities. And one thing I would like to mention is that I'm under fire big time from our Batchewana First Nations leadership, and so are some other entrepreneurs in our community. I'm not a criminal. I don't bring harm upon people, and I never will. That's not what I do. I do the best I can to provide when I can and for who I can. And in this case, I found a beautiful relationship with cannabis, a wonderful medicine.
So these agreements, like the First Nations Lands Management Act, the Anishinaabeg Education System, and the Anishinaabeg Nation Governance Agreement, all fall under Canada's self-government policy, which puts us under provincial jurisdiction and creates us as a fourth level government, lower than municipalities. So we need to unite as our clans and work together to try to formulate reestablish our clan council fires. And I propose that we do this under this banner called Action. So if you want to get involved, we have some links here, and I encourage you to make your own traditional lodges within your community and reach out to community members who want to work together.